Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Furniture Success Podcast, where we explore the strategies and insights that drive success in the furniture industry. Today, we have a special guest who is not just a leader, but a catalyst for transformation, Dr. William Attaway. Dr. Attaway is an experienced leadership coach, speaker, and the author of the Catalytic Leadership book. He is dedicated to helping leaders at all levels grow and thrive. With his platform, Catalytic Leadership, he's guided countless individuals and teams to become more effective and impactful in their roles. Dr. Attaway is also passionate about helping leaders leave a legacy that outlives them. Dr. Attaway, welcome to the show.
It is an honor to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you. And can you tell us about your journey into leadership coaching? What inspired you to focus on helping leaders grow?
Absolutely. So, when I was 15 years old, I had a high school teacher who invited me to attend my first leadership conference. And I was like, why would I want to go to that? And the reality is that he saw something in me that I did not see in myself. And I went, got on a plane, flew, attended, and I was hooked. I was hooked by the power of what leadership could be, the potential of what might be when a leader steps forward and leads at their highest capacity, how they can inspire other people, how they can challenge them and exhort them and inspire them to reach levels as a team, as an organization, as a business that they might not have thought possible. I stepped into corporate for a season. I worked in that world. I've worked in the nonprofit sector. But for almost 30 years, I've been coaching leaders in a variety of different contexts, helping them to get out of their own way, to get out of their own heads, and helping them to understand their power and their possibilities as they step into the capacity of their leadership. So often leaders are really good. Entrepreneurs start a business because they're really good at providing a product or a service. But then as they find success, they have to hire people to help them. And then those people want to be led. Well, leadership's a different skill. And so what I do is I work with leaders to help them to learn those skills so they can lead their team to that level of high performance.
Wow. Yeah. And in your experience, what are the most common challenges leaders face in the business world today, especially within the industries like furniture?
I think within any industry, and furniture is certainly no exception to this, as you start a business, as you run a business, you at the beginning, you wear all the hats, you do everything. And then as you hire team members, you have to begin to hand off some of those responsibilities because you can't do everything well. And in fact, you shouldn't. But delegation is difficult for some because other people don't do it the same way that you do it. They might not do it at the same level that you do it at. And so there is a reticence to hand things off. There's also, I find, a temptation to stay at what I call the center of the spider web, where everything connects to you, where everybody comes to you for the answers, that you've got the answers, you're the owner, you've got the answers, and everybody needs to just come and ask. And the danger in that model is that you are indispensable, and you are indispensable, and you should never take a day off or take a vacation because you're the only one that knows the answers. That's not healthy. That's not sustainable. And so helping people to get out of the center of the spider web is true in the furniture industry, just like it is anything else. You have to learn to delegate, to hand off not just responsibilities, but also authority. You have to teach people how to think for themselves. One of the most common questions I ask my team is, what do you think when they bring me a question? Hey, what do you think about this, William? What do you think? I want to know what they're thinking. I want them to start thinking about getting on the solution side of the problem instead of just focusing on the problem itself. If I teach them how to do that, then they're going to come to me less. It doesn't mean I'm less important, which I think is what a lot of business owners begin to feel like. Now, what it means is that my team is beginning to grow and develop so that they can have the authority they need to solve the problems on their own.
I see. Like, as you mentioned in your book, like you have 12 principles, right?
Mhm.
And like, how can leaders in the furniture industry adopt this approach to drive growth? Like, what do you think about that?
I think what I would say is that the one non-negotiable of what I call catalytic leadership
Mhm,
is to pursue and maintain a teachable spirit. This is true in the furniture industry. You have to constantly be learning, constantly be growing because the industry is changing and shifting. What
mhm,
happened during COVID, for instance, this massive shift, and then what has happened post COVID. This is not going anywhere. This
mhm,
feeling of instability, of the market shifting, of consumer buying patterns changing, having to deal with supply chain issues, all of the different pieces that go into owning a store, this is not going to get easier anytime soon. Having a teachable spirit, choosing to have a teachable spirit, is a choice that every owner can make today. Say, hey, what can I learn from this situation? It's really easy to find the problems. Anybody can do that.
mhm,
But to ask the question, what can I learn here? What can I learn here? What went right this week? What can I celebrate? What went wrong? What would I do different next time? If you process learnings like that, then what
mhm.
you're going to do is you're going to find yourself growing in the industry. You're going to find other people coming to you and asking you, hey, you're doing it differently than other people are. Why are you doing it differently? You become a thought leader. And I believe that for your listeners in the furniture industry, this is something that is sorely needed. People who are going to step out and lead the way, helping other people to understand how important it is to process learning and lead in that. Say, how do we do this better? How do we navigate these waters? If you listen far more than you talk, then you will find yourself at the forefront of learning.
Got it. Yeah, absolutely. And like during COVID, like as you mentioned, like furniture industry was thriving. It was like maybe the best years
Mhm.
for furniture stores. And
Yeah.
then like maybe for a leader managing a team like with sales reps, floor representatives, delivery, guys, like with bunch of people in operations and
Mhm.
marketing and sales, like it was easy. But
Yeah.
what we saw from our clients, or like from people in the industry, like it was really tough, you know
Yeah.
when the current was against the business,
Right.
and and most of the employees in furniture business, like they work with commissions. And then, if you are paying less commissions day by day, it was really
Mhm.
tough. They were not motivated. Like in that scenario, like how can a business owner, especially in the furniture, industry, can maintain this spirit for the, continuous learning?
That's a great question. I think what I would do is understand that every business, every industry has seasons.
Mhm,
There are going to be seasons when things are going really well. Like you're talking about
mhm,
during COVID, when there's a growth curve, everything's up and to the right. I mean, it's just everything seems to be working.
mhm,
But those seasons don't last forever. Right? And this is true in any industry, right? It doesn't take COVID to cause a
mhm,
sea change. And I think what we have to do as leaders is we have to ask ourselves, what season am I in? Am I in a growth season? Am I in a stabilization season where I'm
mhm,
trying to stabilize after all this growth and I'm trying to get my systems and processes right? Am I in a transition season when I'm seeing things changing and even my team is changing and I've got to learn to navigate those waters differently? Or am I in a season where things are starting to go south? Am I in a season of stagnation? Those four seasons require different types of leadership. And I think one of the things that every business owner listening can do is ask themselves, what season am I in? Because you have to lead differently in a growth season than you do in a stagnation season. And you have to seek out the fifth season, which is reinvention. And this is a question that I ask regularly with our team. What is it that we can do better? What is it that we need to adjust or adapt or pivot on to take advantage of the new currents that are flowing? You can never assume that what is what is always going to be, right? Seasons come and change. Seasons come and go. The seasons change. This is true in the natural world, and this is true in business, right? Every business goes through these seasons. The key is focusing on that reinvention cycle. That moves you from stagnation back to the other side. That can move you back into a growth curve if it's handled and led correctly. So for your listeners, I would recommend that they seriously consider that question. What season am I in? Like, what season is my business in today? And how can I lead in that season according to that season instead of the season I wish we were in?
Okay, I see. Like we are expecting, like it was a slow season for most of the business owners. Like maybe 60-70% of the furniture industry was like, maybe 30-year low sales.
Yeah.
And but now we are expecting a growth season again. And based on my 6-7 years experience in the industry, like I saw some businesses, they were really successful. And I realized that they were overgrowing. It was not sustainable
Yeah.
for them to maintain that growth.
Yeah.
But it was like record, always like new record every month. But then we realized that like it was not sustainable. And I suggest them, hey, like stop opening new locations,
Yeah.
instead of focus on the leadership team,
Yeah.
operations. But some businesses were like, no, we want to grow. We want to beat our competitors in our local. Like it was kind of like that. And then we saw that, it was not a good idea, you know.
Yeah.
So this is happening again, not like, COVID time. It was exceptional, but there will be a new growth season again. And what do you think, like as a leader, like based on the experience, because some people with 20-year, 30-year experience, like they know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
But as a new business owner, like
Mm-hmm.
what do you recommend us?
The first thing I would say is I want you to ask yourself the question, what does a healthy and sustainable pace look like?
Mhm.
Right? You've got to think beyond just the moment or this month or this quarter. You have to project out, understanding that no season lasts forever.
Mhm.
You have to begin to prepare for that stabilization. You have to be thinking about that now. What does it take to strengthen and solidify and stabilize our systems
Mhm.
so that we can handle the growth that we have experienced? You mentioned leadership development. That's a big one. You want to make sure you're developing your leaders, your managers. You want to make sure that you're developing them in such a way that they are able to sustain healthy growth. If you have a burst of growth, that's fantastic.
Mhm.
But there's a reason it's called a burst. It doesn't
Yeah,
last forever, right?
correct.
And if you make decisions based on that being the new normal, oh, wow, we grew 30% this quarter. I bet we'll grow 30% every quarter from now until the end of time. Okay, that's not realistic, right? And
Correct.
so if you start projecting and, like you say, start expanding and opening new locations based on a 30% growth expectation every quarter, that's not smart. Ask yourself, what is the healthy and sustainable pace look like here? I would far rather underestimate than overestimate. Because if you overextend yourself, you're setting yourself up for having to lay a lot of people off. You're setting yourself up for having to break contracts for leases because you don't have the revenue to sustain it.
Yes.
If you think healthy and sustainable, that to me is the first step of this.
Mhm. I got it. Yeah, absolutely. So, what do you think about competition? Like, based on my experience, like most of the business owners, they keep their eye on their, competitors, and like they're in a race, and it makes them, ambitious, I guess, a
Mhm.
little bit. And then
Yeah.
they think about it, they don't implement it in their business.
Mhm.
So what do you think about the competition, how to manage it?
What I'm going to say may sound a little off to some of your listeners. They may say, I don't know about that. But hear me out. I don't think it's wise to spend a whole lot of time focusing on your competition. I think it's wise to spend way more time focusing on what you are delivering, the product
Hmm.
and the service that you are delivering, the environment that you are creating for your customers and your prospective customers. I think when you focus more on what you have the ability to control, what's inside your locus of control, I say, you
Hmm.
focus on that. You focus on over delivering service. You focus on over delivering an environment that says, hey, we're expecting you. Hey, we can't wait to serve you. Hey, we want to serve you at a level you've never experienced before. We want to serve you at a wow level. You start focusing on those things,
Hmm.
that is always going to serve you better than looking down the street and saying, how can I beat the next person?
Got it. Yeah. Yeah. And in contrast, like some businesses, like they don't tend to, grow.
Yeah.
And for me, like, to be honest, it's not possible. Either you can go forward or backward, you cannot
That's right.
stay, where you are, because like it is very, very competitive, environment.
Yeah.
And even we suggest them like, hey, we need to increase our ads budget. Even they have money, they don't tend to invest. And they miss opportunities. I can
Yeah.
see it,
Yeah.
but when I talk to them, oh, no, this is our budget, like, and we want to keep it like that. So, what do you think about the growth mindset?
I think stasis exists only in a laboratory, and it is very difficult to create it even there. Your business, just like you as a leader, is either growing or dying. There
Correct.
is no middle ground. You get to choose. I want my business to grow. So, what that means is that I'm going to make investments focused on the growth side of the equation. I'm going to make investments in marketing. I'm going to make investments that are going to position me in front of the people that I want to serve, right? That's part of what growth is coming from. And I know that. To pull back those investments to say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to focus on what I've got. That's a great way to move into the other side of the equation, right? Not the growth side. You're going to move into the other side. You're going to start shrinking. And eventually, with no intervention, the business will die. And that's the way that works. And there's really no getting around it. What you have to do as the leader is understand that you set the pace, you set the tone for the entire business. Your team is watching and listening to you. And as the leader, your words weigh 10,000 pounds, one of my mentors says, right? Your words weigh 10,000 pounds. So how you lead matters. And if you lead in such a way that is not focused on growth, if you lead in such a way that is not focused on expanding what you currently have, then that is exactly what your team is going to follow. And you will find that's exactly what happens.
I see. Like, what are some effective ways leaders can inspire their teams to excel, particularly in sales, like for
Mhm.
growth, and customer service for the, retention in the and service delivery, in the retail sector, like.
I begin by helping them understand why what they do matters,
Hmm.
helping them understand how what they do affects the big picture. Hey, when you do this, it means this. When you are effective at sales and when you get better at sales, What that means is that, hey, you know what? You're going to be able to impact more people. You're going to serve more people. You're going to help more families get the furniture that they need and the service that they need from a company that cares about them. That's us, as
Mhm.
opposed to going down the street and getting perhaps an inferior product and inferior service and support from a company that doesn't care as much. Like when you are bringing your best version of yourself to work, sales folks, that's what the result is. You are helping to grow that, and you're helping our business to grow such that we can impact even more people. You know, you talk about customer service, you think in that
Mhm.
vein, when you serve a customer, when you're focused on helping to solve their problem, right? Not just telling them
Mhm.
why you can't, but saying, hey, how can I help? What can I do? When you focus on the customer and helping to solve their problem, they're going to walk away with an impression, not just of you, but of the business and perhaps even the industry as a whole.
Mhm.
And they're going to say, wow, that was a great experience. When people have a great experience, they tell other people. That's always what happens. When they have a
Yeah.
bad experience, they tell other people. That's always what happens,
Yeah,
right?
like car dealers, they
Exactly
they
right.
they have
Exactly.
really bad reputation.
Exactly. And the reason they have a bad reputation is because the experiences people have had have been negative. And so
Mhm.
they tell other people about it. And that creates a reputation, not just of that one salesperson and not just of that one dealership, but of the whole industry.
Mhm.
You have incredible power because you are dealing with the customers at a sales level, at a customer service level. Like you're
Mhm.
dealing with the customers, you're the face, and you have the power to help them have a great experience or to ruin the reputation, not just of yourself and your business, but of the
Yep.
whole industry.
Yep. And it is very easy, on Google, my business
Yes, it is.
profile, you can get easily, 1-star review. And
Yep.
yeah, let me go back to continuous learning. Like, how important is continuous learning for leaders, and what are some practical ways they can pursue personal growth amid their busy schedules? Like, even sometimes with some of the furniture business owners, like, we cannot even schedule a marketing call like for an
Mhm.
hour, and like
Yeah.
we wait for a couple of weeks. So they're busy, but
Mhm.
they need to keep learning new things, right? So how that possible?
I think you have to intentionally choose
Mhm.
to spend time learning and growing and developing your business, not just working in it, but working on it. That's
Mhm.
not just going to happen, right? The urgent is always going to demand more of your time. And if you let it, that is going to demand all of your time. But I want to intentionally carve time when I am going to work on the business and say, how do I move the needle for the whole business? How do
Mhm.
I help this entire thing to grow? And that's where conversations with you, right? That's going to be a big help because now I'm going to understand, hey, here's somebody who can help me from a strategic perspective
Mhm.
to think about marketing in a way that maybe I never have. That's not my
Mhm.
area of specialty. But I can engage with somebody like you, Ahmed, this is your area of specialty. This is an area that you know a great deal about. And you can
Mhm.
help me go farther with my business than I could ever get on my own. And you can help me get there faster. Why would I not do that?
I see. Yep. Like we have even like a training program at the beginning
Mhm.
of the onboarding. So I personally train our clients. Hey,
Mhm.
like this is, let's say, ROAS, return on ad spending, you know and you need to check this number, this is that, and this is,
Mhm.
like it is, because sometimes when we talk about search engine optimization, I realize that they understand Google ads,
Yeah.
or like when we talk about Facebook ads, they may understand Facebook marketplace.
Yeah.
And it is very common. And when they talk, they don't know what they mean. It is completely different thing. And that's why we do audit for our clients, and we explain them what they need, why they need, and what could be the potential return. But that's not enough. They shouldn't trust only me. They have to, as a business owner, they have to learn, marketing, at least the basics, and they
Yeah.
need to read, and watch some, training videos. Anyways, like, could you share a story or example of a leader, like your coach, who has seen a significant transformation in their leadership style, like, if any?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think about a leader that I'm working with currently who runs a multi seven figure marketing agency, right? And this is a business that he started.
Mhm.
And when we started working together, he had just crossed the 7 figure mark.
Mhm.
And in the course of a year of working together, he learned how to lead his team in a better way, in a different way,
Mhm.
leveraging listening and leveraging communication with his team in a very intentional and very systematic way.
Mhm.
And what he saw is that his retention of his team members skyrocketed, right?
Mhm.
No longer did he have the churn among his team that he had previously. They stuck around because they felt like he cared about more than just what they did. He cared
Mhm.
about their growth and development as individuals, as people. As his retention of his team went up, his retention of his clients went up.
Mhm.
And what did that do to the bottom line? Well, it saw him move from a 7 figure business to a multi 7 figure business simply through focusing on caring for his team more, by listening to them, by communicating with them consistently, intentionally,
Mhm.
and regularly. By doing that, it affected the impact with the clients, the customers, and that impacted the bottom line such that his business more than doubled in 12 months.
I get it. Yeah. Wow. And like, in industries like furniture, people, like, like for the delivery people, you keep getting, feedbacks from your clients.
Mm-hmm.
But for sales, sometimes you cannot track it easily,
Mm-hmm.
because like it is verbal, and you can't be there all the time in your all of your stores. If you have like 4 or 5 stores, like, you
Sure.
need to delegate it, right? And
Exactly.
like, what is the best piece of advice you would give to inspiring, leaders in the furniture business who want to make a lasting impact for their leadership team?
What I would say is this: people do business at the end of the day. They do business
Mhm.
with people that they know and they like and they trust. And we know that, right? That's
Mhm.
pretty elementary. But this is true in the furniture industry just like it is anywhere else.
Mhm.
If somebody comes in and they have a bad experience with a store employee, they're not going to buy there. They're going to go somewhere else. I don't care if you have the best price. They're going to go somewhere else more often than not because they had a bad experience with a person. If you train and you pour into your employees in your furniture store in such a
Mhm.
way that they understand the power and the value that they have, that is going to be conveyed through them to the customers. Whether you as the owner are in that location that day or not, they are going to operate as an extension of you, helping to communicate that you, customer, are valued because I'm valued. It's going to go through them to your customers. That takes intentional leadership. That doesn't
Mhm.
just happen. But if you are purposeful in how you pour into and invest in your team, pour into how you invest in your employees, that is going to convey to the customers, and it's going to affect the environment that they're in when they come into your store. It's going to
Mhm.
affect whether they will know, like, and trust you. And that is going to have a direct impact on your bottom line.
I got it. Yeah. Like, one last question, like, William, like, you have 12 keys, right?
Mhm.
For a catalytic leader. And like, I think it was number 4 or 5. Like, it was like, choose to be family focused.
Mhm.
So I know, many business owners, and they lost their, work life balance in their
Mhm.
life.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it is not all about money or success. Like,
Right.
it is overall, life is a whole, right?
Yeah.
So, what do you mean by choose to be a family focused?
The relationships that are closest to you, the relationships that matter most to you, typically are your family, right? I know for me that's true. My relationship with my wife, with my daughters, like those matter a great deal to me. If I have grand success in my business, if my business just blows the doors off, if your listeners, if they're furniture stores, if the business just blows the doors off, that's great. But is it worth losing the relationships that matter most to you? I've watched a whole lot of leaders over the years who sacrifice their family on the altar of success in their business. And at the end of the day, they discovered what a bad trade-off that was. I think it's important to remember that the best, most catalytic leaders never lose sight that they have to choose to be family focused. They have to choose to let those closest to them know how much they matter. That's a choice that you and I get to make every day. I want my business to succeed, and I know your listeners do as well. I want my business to exceed and impact so many different lives and families. But I never want that to come at the cost of the relationships closest to me. And that is a choice that I'm going to make every day. And I'm going to challenge your listeners to do the same.
And like, I highly recommend taking 1 or 2 days off, for our clients, because
Yes.
like for most of the furniture stores, they are open from 10 a.m. to 7, 8 p.m. and 7 days a week. And sometimes I realize they're not taking any day off, you
Right.
know, and they burn out at the end of the day, you
Yes.
know.
Is that healthy? Is it sustainable? I go back to that question, right?
Absolutely not.
You have to ask yourself that question. What does healthy and sustainable look like? And how do I get from where I am to there?
Wow. Yeah, thank you so much, William. Like, it was an amazing, podcast. So if our listeners w- want to reach out to you, like, what is the best way to reach out to you, William?
You can go to my website. It's catalyticleadership.net. That's kind of the central hub of everything that we do. And I'd love to connect with your listeners on LinkedIn as well. You can find me at William Attaway on LinkedIn. I'd love to connect and hear what you found most helpful today.
All right. Yeah. Thank you so much, William. Thank you for attending.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Thank you.